Mine today, while I was walking around, and that's essentially one key difference, one particular point that I've noticed across time during all of my sessions, is that there is a key difference in terms of female and male, both therapies, and how they approach issues, and why this is incredibly relevant if you are a male and you're struggling. I will go and talk about a lot of these things in the core of my videos, but basically I think a lot of the issues related to anxiety and depression are linked to something, to one particular emotion, which is a really cunty emotion, and that is really underestimated, and it's really underestimated and not often talked about because it's absolutely disgusting. It is an incredibly uncomfortable feeling. You might think that suffering, pain, sadness, fear are really difficult things to stay with, and they definitely are. But this particular emotion is something that makes all of these things really, really difficult, and makes even feeling them even more difficult. And that the emotion I'm trying to talk about is shame. So there are people who have talked about it. There is a really good book by Jack Bruchko. I'm pretty sure his name is not Jack Bruchko. I got it here. I'm just gonna go find it. Right, so it's more like John Bradshaw, and this is the book, Healing the Shame That Binds Us, binds you. So he's one of the few people that actually spent a lot of time talking and discussing and creating programs about shame. But regardless, I mean, a lot of the blocks that attacks you at the core of who you are, they block your ability to be confident, to pursue your goals, to be assertive, to reach out, to create. They jeopardize your creativity, your ability to create, and your confidence. That's clearly the case. I mean, a lot of people who are depressed, it's very rare to find people who are really depressed or anxious who are really confident. But again, because behind that there are blocks to the first few chakras, like first chakra is fear, second chakra guilt, third chakra shame. Those are basically the kind of emotion, how they, and the chakras, they are mostly affected by those kind of emotions. A lot of trauma is down there. And second chakra is the chakra of creativity, where your life force, your sexual energy, your energy of creation is, whether you call it chi, whether you call it kundalini, prana, that's where it is. And your third chakra is where your center of power is, and that's massively affected by shame. A lot of trauma happens in the first few chakras. So fear, two key components of trauma are fear and shame. They block your energy down there. What does it mean? What do I want to say with this? What I want to say is that for a man, for a male, to succeed in this world, to feel, either perhaps just to feel that he is succeeding, but to achieve a lot of different things, he desperately needs that energy. You do need that energy. It is vital for you to have access to that energy. It is vital for you to have access to your personal power. It is absolutely vital for you to feel confident for a lot of different things, at work, in your job, and most importantly in relationship with females. I'm not saying that if you're not confident, you're not super confident, you're not super in touch with your sexual power or whatever, no women will want you. That's not the case. But it is much harder. It is much more frustrating. It is much more difficult. A lot of women that might have been receptive to you, towards you, will not be when those things come up, when those blockages come up. A lot of times it is you cannot go, but even if you force yourself to go, if the energy is not flowing, if you've got blockages in your second chakra, your first chakra, your third chakra, and we're talking about guilt, fear, shame, you're not going to deliver. You're just not going to deliver. You're not going to amaze them. You're not going to like find the resources, your best resources. You're going to be blocked. You're going to be thinking about how do I behave? Should it be like real man, whatever? Should it be like paying for the thing? Or even more stupid things. You're going to be blocked. You're not going to be able to be spontaneous, and spontaneity is a key success factor for males in relationships when interacting with the opposite sex. So for males, having blockages, serious emotional blockages due to trauma in the lower chakras is a disaster. And that's why therapy focused for males cannot be about coping mechanisms. And that's important because it's a key difference than for females. I've met enormous amounts of females. First of all, it is much easier for them, for women, to talk about mental health, not necessarily mental health, but to talk about it generically, to go into yoga, to go into energy stuff, to go into shamanic lodges and a lot of different things like that. And they work well for them because they never tackle the trauma. I will get into this, in some of the next few videos. Those kind of things don't go down to hardcore real trauma. EMDR does that. Breathwork does that. Bullshit kind of, not, it's not bullshit. I shouldn't be talking like that. But going to shamanic lodges or, doing lots and lots of yoga, unless you do yoga for like 30 years really intensively, it's unlikely to go and access your trauma. Bring it up and deal with it. It might, if it is light, for a long time, if you practice it for a long time, but if it is a serious blockage, it's unlikely to do the job. But that seemed to work really fine with women. Why? Because they don't have to go out there and win the game, if you want to call it a game. I'm simplifying a little bit, but not so much, because why do men become more able to pick up girls when they're drunk? Because alcohol, it has a lot of negative effects, but the reason why people love drinking is because it inhibits your shame. Alcohol is a very anti-shame kind of thing. Obviously I'm not suggesting to use that. It's a very bad idea, really bad idea. You have to pay everything plus the interest for every single minute of your life where you decrease your amount of shame. But that's basically what it does. You become more spontaneous, you can dance better, you can talk better, you're less it diminishes your inhibition. Shame does the opposite. And when shame is in your cells, the cells of your body, it becomes really hard. I remember one time I was in front of I was on a Tinder date. I was with this Russian girl. She was beautiful, she was nice, she was clever. I was having a great time. And usually before I would come up with lots of different excuses why I wasn't comfortable, why things might not be going the way I wanted. But at the time I was just basically in a mindfulness state, observing myself. And I noticed that I was blocked, completely blocked, and I rationally analyzed the situation. There was nothing off. What was off? The answer is very simple. The trauma is in your body, is in your cells, it is not in your mind. So even if you rationally tell yourself, you assess the situation and everything is absolutely fine, mentally, there is no reason why you shouldn't be there enjoying. I was absolutely sure that that was not me. And so it didn't work out. But I was zero surprised that it didn't work out. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that for men with serious trauma that blocks their personal power, their male power, their creative power, male power because they're men, not because it is some sort of macho power, great, yeah, let's go kind of thing. That's not absolutely not the point. What I'm saying is that your sexual energy is your creative energy, is your spontaneity, is your energy of creation and creativity, but it's also your sexual energy, which in males is masculine. Your personal power is your personal power, and all those emotions really block you. And as a male in this society, the way it works, you have to be the one that goes to the woman and then shows her what you're good at. But to show her what you're good at, you need to feel like you're good at something before. And clearly, most of trauma and issues and mental health issues do the opposite of that. They make you feel like shit about yourself. So that's why one thing I've noticed, both in terms of patients and clients and therapists, women have the tendency to basically be more in the coping area, energy, kind of healing, doing little things here and there, just being fine, just managing the day-to-day. Success is mostly around being happy in day-to-day, which might sound really good, but it is not enough for male. It is not enough to be fine. You need to be confident. It is incredibly important to feel confident, to feel you can create, you can achieve and do things. Why? Because you're mostly massively judged by that, other than the fact that it's really just amazing to feel in your power, sexual and energetic, second and third chakra, and grounding. Obviously it comes from grounding, so first chakra is involved as well. But basically, and I know this is a difficult topic, but basically the way society works right now, men unfortunately have to have the confidence and You can't just bullshit that. You also need to have the spontaneity, the creation, the creative energy to go out there and impress women. I'm saying that in a very abrupt way. Obviously, it's a simplification of things, but unfortunately, that's the truth. You know, all of us, we have seen the little movies where the guy is like, in the end, finds the courage to go there, and that's absolutely great to go there and talk to the fancy girl that he thought he was out of his league and then he really liked. We've all tried that, I'm pretty sure. Did it work every single time? I don't think so. When it worked, it's because you did it within your body. You were in your body. Your energy came out of you. You were spontaneous. You were playing the game. Confidence were up. You were feeling that. And being confident is different than, being completely in control from the beginning to the end. You can feel a lot of you can feel embarrassed. You can feel scared. You can feel that's not what kills you. What kills you is when really the trauma, if you want, the shame, the block is so strong that you need to hide it, or that you can't just be spontaneous and fun. So for men, and also there is a component, there is an aspect of this which is about vulnerability. Coping therapies, if you want. And again, shamanic lodges like Reiki, all that kind of stuff, yoga. They can help you when you're feeling very vulnerable. They can help you in your day-to-day activities and stuff. When you remain on, they can keep you in sort of like a happy sort of state. But again, for a man, that might not be enough. Much more than for a woman. And that's why, for men, because you're still vulnerable, you have to cope with your vulnerability. You're still feeling vulnerable. You're not like in absolute control of things. You're not feeling confident and powerful, but you're not feeling shit. That is enough for women. Men are still gonna come towards them. Men are still wanna have sex with them. Men are still going to want to have relationships with them. Men are still going to be really attracted to them. As a man, when you're not really in your full power, it's gonna be hard in terms of women, in terms of relationships. So, and not just women and relationships, but also success in many different aspects. So that is why when you are a male as a client, you want to get through if you start that process, because most of the times you're not even gonna fucking start the process, because the process does make you vulnerable. And I think unconsciously we know that as men. I mean, there is obviously the obvious barrier of like the fact that you have mental health issues, and mental health issues unfortunately makes you vulnerable. It doesn't make you absolutely strong. It does not make you hyper powerful. It's going through that and fully 100%. And what I'm talking about here, and again, this is important in this video, because that's what I will be guiding people towards. Fully get through the thing. It's not about coping bullshit. It's not about, there are a lot of coping mechanisms which are really good and should be used, because through the process is very long and painful. So the more coping mechanisms you have, the better it is. But the point is to get through, get out on the other side. And that is incredibly important for men, because the quality of life, the level of quality of life, the things you can have as a man who is not on the other side, is just basically coping, feeling incredibly vulnerable, is much lower than a woman just coping, feeling incredibly vulnerable. Vulnerability is much more tolerated for women than it is for men. That's something that our friend John Bradshaw does state in his book. And that's also the reason. Vulnerability is a massive topic, and it's a very key one. Now we focus on vulnerability for men, because I think this is something we should talk about. This is something that not very often has been recognized, and it is something that needs to be talked. Because one of the goals, I will make another video about that, because I think when I was thinking about like what is the goal, what do I want to achieve with these videos, what the purpose, how would I measure success of my activity, of my work? One way, it's a very ambitious one, But even reducing, and that probably, my approach, my support, my contribution could be like really marginal, so there is no way to find that out. But it would be to reduce suicide rates among young men, because they are incredibly fucking high. There is basically a ratio of 8 to 2 of men to women who commit suicide. Given the path that I've made, that I've gone through, zero surprise. I have zero shock, zero surprise that would be the case. Vulnerability, being vulnerable as an adult male is really fucking hard. But I'll try and stay on topic. As you can see, I'm not really good at that. But what I want to talk about in this specific video is the fact that a lot of times, I mean, I don't know, it really depends on the situation. A lot of men might have like dad issues with like males and men and stuff like that. So you might benefit working for a male therapist, or if you have issues with like your mother or women in general or whatever, trauma can come from a lot of different angles. Then you might benefit more working with women, and that's something like really beneficial. But there is a key difference, irrespective of that. That's personal, and that's idiosyncratic to the specific situation of the person. There is a key difference, which I think is related to everything I said until now, between male and female therapists. I found that most of the times, male therapists will want to get you there. They want you to get there. They will encourage you, they will push you. Sometimes, depending on how sensitive you are to things, you might feel it being a bit rough. It doesn't have to be the case necessarily, but they will push you to get through things. They understand, because I think deep down they do understand that. I mean, the energy, masculine energy, is an energy of penetration, is an energy of creation, and there is an aggressive component to that. By aggression, I will be very careful what I say when I talk about that. I don't mean aggression as in violence, attack. Aggression, what I mean is like a sportsman way. Okay, you want to dribble your opponent and score. You want to score a goal. You want to penetrate that goal, if you want. That's what male energy is. And a male energy, a male therapist will know, a male healer will know that, because it's in him, how important that is. So he will push you, he will encourage you, he will focus. Most of them, I shouldn't say he will, most of them, on average, they tend to focus much more on the end result. Let's get you there, let's get you to a place of happiness, confidence, empowerment. Female therapists will tend more to be worried about your well-being. So they will tend to see things as in, if you're happy, if you're not doing that bad, if your anxiety is down, that's really great, let's take it easy. We don't want to push things, we don't want to be too rough. And that can be great. I mean, there is, in certain ways, that kindness, that compassion, that gentleness is why female energy can be incredibly powerful for healing purposes. But if you are a male, I've found that female therapists oftentimes do underestimate how much you fucking need to get on the other side. You just can't be fine coping. Maybe she can, maybe her friends can, maybe your female friends can, because they bet already they can meet the man of their lives, he's going to be attracted to them no matter what. But we can't. Most of us cannot afford not to get through the other time. We cannot just afford just to be fine, to be better, not be so anxious. Because what we want, what I wanted, and that's what I want to communicate to other people, that's the purpose in the path, is to be confident to handle any kind of possible situation. I didn't do it on purpose, but I think it was a good time to make a pose for dramatic effect, because as men, and I cannot guarantee that every man is like that, but that's my impression that I share with a lot of friends, is that we would like to feel like we have the confidence, the strength, the courage to handle as many possible situations as we can. I'm not saying that, again, there is always the risk to get into the macho kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But ideally, I don't know how many men would say no to being able to go to the Amazon and feeling confident, or traveling around and feeling confident in any situation, in any city, in any to have the confidence that whatever happens to you, you can handle that. To be in that state, you cannot be doing bullshit coping stuff. And that coping stuff, again, I say bullshit, but it can be incredibly helpful. But you can't do that until you're 80. I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do yoga every day, or phytotherapy, or CBT, or stay away from, dangerous situations. I wanted to fucking explode. Not going into like dangerous situations on purpose, but I wanted to go like ride a moto really fast. Why? Because it's really cool, because I fucking enjoy that. I wanted to jump from 10 meters in a pool. Why? Again, because I don't know why. I just want to do that. I want to be able to walk to a woman that I really fancy, that looked at me, and be spontaneous. Yeah, freak out, be excited. You can be scared, but scared in the right way is like you're scared and excited at the same time. Not blocked, not paralyzed by fear, not paralyzed by shame, not like really disempowered in front of a woman. Not like that. So I'm saying that for men, and I think this is really important, therapy should be about getting you to fucking through whatever it is that is blocking you. Most likely trauma. Trauma is a very generic term. And male therapists normally will automatically feel that. They just have that approach themselves, which at times can be rough, because serious trauma, mental health stuff can make you feel very vulnerable. It can bring up a lot of hard things that come up, and you struggle. And you might hit the fuck out of them for doing that, because sometimes what you actually need is female energy. It's a different approach. Someone who stays with you with zero expectations. We'll talk a lot about that. But it's a combination of the two. That, to me, when I started working with female therapists, I started progressing much faster. It was much harder because my personal issues were really related to female energy. But I've done before a lot of work with male therapists, and that was very important. Especially sometimes I had the feeling that I was wasting my time. I was wasting my life, and that was terrifying to me. Almost as terrifying as the stuff that was coming up. So every time a therapist would say, yeah, but there is no rush, that you shouldn't, I don't know, let's take it easy, you can do this and that and that, I would become really angry, really frustrated. And my main male therapist, he wasn't like that. I really liked his approach, because every single time he spoke, I could feel his focus was, we're gonna get you through the fucking hole, the black hole of horrible shit. That's the other side of that is where we're aiming towards. And so many times, even if I was working with female therapists, I would relate to him, ask him, because I knew that he had that same vision, that same purpose, that same goal, that same aim that I had. I want to make another video. Now I'm starting to get ideas about lots of stuff, a lot of videos and different things. I want to make a video about what does it mean to be driven, because that's another thing that I'm sure that lots of, especially males, but not only them, women as well, are being accused of when you suffer of depression and anxiety, or when you have significant trauma and mental health issues, is that you're lazy bastard that isn't doing nothing, that is not driven, that is not almost on the thing. But if you are watching these videos, are following my channel, and want to are doing everything you can to get on the other side of that thing, but you're massively fucking driven. To me, I had that in my mind, the little cunty voice that is in your head that keeps trying to jeopardize you to basically getting away, telling you you're doing nothing, you're wasting your time, blah blah blah, you're not doing all these amazing things that you should be doing, or whatever, or things that you should be doing anyways, and you're not driven enough or something like that, you're not ambitious enough. But dude, if you are insisting and you're really trying as hard as you can to face every possible shit that comes out of your body, because that's what it is really, but I guess in your soul as well, to try and get where you want to get, that's insane determination. That is insane determination and wisdom, because you're not wasting your time doing a lot of fluffy lullaby bullshit things, or working very hard, or going to the gym to become enormous because you think that's what women want. First of all, if a woman wants that, I'm sure that's the kind of woman I want to be with, and that's incredibly relevant, and I will make a video around that. It is relevant. The point is, if you're not giving up on something as hard that scares so many people away, something so scary that people don't want to talk about it. People don't want to fucking talk about mental health. They call this stuff demons, the demons inside. And that's really cool because it motivates you. I mean, if you are like me, I guess, it motivates you. I'm facing my demons. Then it becomes less cool because facing the demon is not really that massive battle. The really cool battle, like in Dragon, story of Bruce Lee. But you can still see that in that way. Because it demands enormous amount of courage and strength, emotional, life strength. That's why I call myself, I call you, I call a lot of people, call themselves warriors of light. Because you're fighting with everything you got. You're pulling out enormous amount of courage and strength. Not to dominate, not to win some battle with another male for mating rights or land. You're fighting for something that really does matter. And if you're not giving up, if you keep going, then you really are driven. You really are ambitious. Anyways, all of this was to say that there are differences between men and women, mostly driven by how society is obsessed with the fucking roles, with what it means to be man and to be woman, and how they treat us completely differently. And there are differences in the way male and female therapists will operate, and this is very relevant. Very relevant. The reasons why it is relevant, I think I've explained them enough, at least, because we're already at 27 minutes. I think that's by far the longest video I've made so far. Cool. Anyways, that's it for this one, and I got plenty of topics and stuff rushing up that I want to talk about. Anyways, guys, take it easy.